Hi guys! I never know how to start these webinars off because it's always so awkward. I feel like I'm just like talking to a void. Anyways, great intro. Hi there, I'm Holly and I will be hosting this webinar today in partnership with CLO. So we'll be looking at how to extend CLO using virtual reality. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Holly New and I'm the world's first VR fashion designer. I'm recognised by the BBC and CLO and a bunch of other companies for the really cool work that I do, which bridges digital fashion and primarily gaming, but kind of leaning into education as well. So we're going to be looking at some of the immersive workflows that my company's using and how that applies to modern fashion design. All right, so the big question, what are you guys going to discover in the next 60 minutes? So hopefully you guys are going to learn a couple of things. If not, I'm hoping you're just here for the ride. But anyways, hopefully you'll learn how to navigate using CLO AI, how to develop different concepts and textures using some of the features within that, how to prototype accessories using virtual reality, how to integrate custom elements into CLO, so using like trims, buttons, and different kind of workflows that particularly like my company uses that has saved us loads of time and really made our work stand out. And how VR and CLO can work together without disrupting the work that you're currently doing. And then also how to work in a way where you haven't got to have a VR headset, but you can still get these same results. So even if you haven't got a VR headset at home, you should be able to learn something from this session. So as I said, I'm Holly New and I'm the CEO of STUDIOOFNEW. I'd like to consider myself a leader in AI, XR and 3D CAD for fashion and gaming, and I'm really passionate about tech integration when it's suitable, which is a really key point. I won the Best Technical Designer Award in 2025 by CLO, which is a really awesome honour. Thank you once again, guys. And my company, STUDIOOFNEW, has worked with over 20 plus clients across loads of different industries in the last 6 months. Primarily gaming and working with like UEFN and Copper Candle, but also going into like fashion as well and education. So like different universities, even architecture as well, which is really awesome. So we're kind of branching out. And a bit about my story, because everyone always asks like the backstory behind STUDIOOFNEW and like how I ended up being the world's first VR fashion designer. So basically, a few years ago, I was studying fashion at Arts University Bournemouth. And I went there because I wanted to learn the skills of fashion design. Like I actually don't like fashion. And that's awful to say. Everyone always goes, what do you mean? You're a fashion designer. But no, I went to uni to learn the skills to make clothes. So in my second year, like right at the end, I was on a project where I had to create this world, this digital world as part of a group. And I noticed that the uni was hosting some virtual reality courses. And I was like, oh, well, we'll just give that a go. It's a new skill, you know, like I might enjoy it, I might hate it, we'll see. And when I went into VR, I was like, this is incredible. There are so many things that you can do in here that I never even thought of. It's so intuitive and inspiring. And I basically then took what I designed and was like, how can we apply this to fashion and clothing? So I spent my whole final year of my BA like looking at how can we work using virtual reality for fashion. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't get very far at all. I spent most of it kind of playing around and not getting anywhere. But after graduating, I ended up doing a residency where I designed some heels inspired by the doors of Krakow in Poland. And again, I found that it was really awesome. I was designing these footwear pieces, but they were locked in virtual reality. And because I couldn't get them out, I got really frustrated. I was like, why is this not more intuitive? Why can we not just take this out? So I basically ended up doing a whole master's, trying to figure out how to get stuff out and solve this problem. So I spent months testing and breaking things and fixing it and seeing what we could do and talking to anyone and everyone who would like listen. And then eventually it kind of happened. It was problem solving bit by bit. And I figured out how to move my designs from virtual reality into like Blender and then into CLO 3D. And then how can we reverse it? And what's the best like practices? And that's really kind of how STUDIOOFNEW began, is I started experimenting and then people started noticing. And so with the STUDIOOFNEW method, as I call it, we spend a lot of time working across the 3 different platforms. So using AI and particularly leaning into like CLO AI as well, because it's so specific for fashion and that is really beneficial when you're trying to give fashion outputs. and then going into virtual reality to come up with different ideas, and then going into Clo to refine these pieces and going for the rendering as well. So you're using these different ways of working together to get the most efficient workflow. And this isn't just kind of me going, this is a really cool idea. This is actually real world stuff that's happening. We're working, as I said, with over 20 plus clients over the last 6 months, and we've reduced sampling rounds by around 40% on average. We're securing different approval levels. So, going to your manager and going, check this out, this is what we've designed. And they're approving it faster because they're going through immersive 3D workflows. People can be anywhere in the world at any time and seeing what you're designing in virtual reality. So we're seeing that there's quicker turnarounds, quicker pipelines, but also reducing wastage as well. It's a win-win. So I thought we'd kick off by going into the CLO AI studio. But first, talking about AI, because obviously everyone goes on about AI, whether it's good, whether it's bad. Some people sit in the middle. So from my opinion, let's discuss, what we can talk about with AI in the creative industry. Now, this is a really good article. So let me just bring this up for you guys. So the technology innovation in the fashion industry. And this is basically all about the challenges that the fashion industry is facing today. So to save you the big read, basically 85% of designers and companies are open and or using AI already, in their workflows. But the thing is that 40% of those companies state interoperability, so the issues of softwares communicating together, as their number one issue. So you're seeing these different issues that are combining. So people are saying we want to use AI and we're open to it, but actually we can't quite get it to work in our pipeline. So I'm hoping if that's you and you're sitting here and going, I agree, that this is going to help you today. So AI and sustainability. A lot of people are really concerned about the way in which AI is used, and particularly to do with the environmental impact. So a lot of the environmental impact talks that I've heard focus on water usage. And for a little bit of context, AI is hosted in data centers, and data centers use water to cool down. They also use air as well, but it's primarily water. So to cool these systems down, they're pumping loads of water, and people go, AI is using 200 glasses of water per prompt. Now, there is no facts and figures to actually back up that statement, but it's important to understand that water is used in the process, just maybe not in that amount. Water is highly effective at reducing the heat compared to air, for example, and also improves the lifespan of the service. So they're not having to waste more materials because they're trying to find other options. And I'm not advocating that AI is sustainable. I'm not saying that at all. But it's important to understand that the same systems that are cooling AI are also working for other systems as well. So your cloud storage, your Netflix, your Prime, Google as well, Bing, if you use Bing. Who uses Bing? Financial and logistics infrastructure as well. So even your online banking and stuff like that, they're having to host in data centers. So it's not just AI is an issue, the whole system itself is an issue. So if you're focusing on one bit, you also need to understand the other impacts that are happening as well. Now, some people might not agree with that, but this is just from my opinion of what I think with AI and sustainability, that it's a whole bigger picture. It's a piece of a puzzle. My other favorite statement is AI is coming for our jobs. And in some ways, it kind of is. It's changing the job market. And it will remove a few jobs, but it will be the repetitive jobs. So historically, technology has never removed creative roles. It's just changed what those roles are focusing on or the way in which they're done. And it's the best way I can describe it without getting into a whole conversation is digital art didn't remove painters, photography didn't remove photographers, and CAD didn't remove designers. AI follows the same pattern. It's just changing the way in which we're working. And it doesn't replace taste and judgment, creative direction, accountability, and also contextual decision making. It can't do those things. And I know some people go, what if it does it in the future? And it might do, but it can't replace you, your experiences in your brain. It just replaces those really repetitive ideas, the early drafting and the manual variation that you have to do, which wastes not only time, but resources as well. When you think about how long you've spent trying to come up with ideas or trying to figure out trend forecasting, and then you use AI and it does it like that, you can kind of see why people are leaning into AI. So I'm a firm believer of AI isn't coming for our jobs, it's just changing the way in which we're doing our jobs, meaning that we have more time for creativity. I also like to say as well that I say business, but kind of my job didn't exist 2 years ago. Being a VR fashion designer is a completely new industry, almost no one's in it. So, more jobs are going to be coming up. We just don't know what they'll look like. And AI is experimental. This is my favorite one in terms of like when people bring up and go, oh, I can't get the results. And it's important to know that companies aren't just using AI as a mass kind of umbrella term. They're using it in really specific, narrow ways. So CLO is a great example of this, where they're using the image generation to get specific images and then for texture as well. They're using it in really specific ways. Experimental tools are visible, so like your ChatGPT and Nara or Claude, they're visible. Operational AI is often invisible. You won't even know it's happening. Like Netflix. If you go into Black Mirror and you look at their bios of what each one's about, you'll notice it's got the extended hyphen. It's ChatGPT. So the best way you can look at it is mini case studies. So streaming platforms use AI to decide what content is surfaced, when and to whom. And it's this recommendation system, that's all AI. Retail platforms do the same for demand forecasting, pricing optimization, and even stock allocation as well. So it's all hidden, you just don't see it. So the problem isn't creativity, it's integration. That's what I'm kind of trying to get at. It's not that it's taking away from these creative loops, it's just integrating it in the right way. So I like to look at it as when you come up with an idea, you kind of think of it and you can use AI in that, but then you're still having to do the experimenting and still having to refine. And then you might repeat it again, you might make changes and you're going through this, this pipeline and going round. You don't need perfection, you just need better pipelines. And so without that loop, it's wasted. You're wasting time, you're wasting money, you're wasting fabrics and materials. But with the loop of using AI in specific targeted ways that are meaningful, very key there, meaningful, you're getting capability. You're getting this way of working that is capable of keeping up, not only with you, but pushing you further with your designs. You don't need more tools, you just need tighter systems. So if you're kind of going, I'm looking at getting this AI and this AI and this AI, sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes actually what you need is already right in front of you. So moving on from the whole AI talk, sorry for a bit of a spiel there, but looking at bringing CLO AI into a workflow. And the biggest thing that I can say if you've generated images before is concept images are flat, garments are not. And CLO AI gets this, and I love it so much for this, because I don't know if you've noticed that when you generate like a garment image using like ChatGPT, for example, you struggle quite a lot with getting the seams in the right position. Well, it's because it's not designed as a fashion output, if that makes sense. So using the AI image generator in CLO, you can do quite a lot. You can generate images of different garments. You can also go onto the try on as well, so trying it on different people. And you can also do a flat lay as well. So let's kick off and go into that and do a little demo, shall we? So if I go into my CLO 3D and I'm going to click this top button up here next to my sign in, you've got all these different options. You've got home, which gives you the 4 different options of AI render enhancer, texture generator, graphic generator, and image generator. And you've also got the little shortcuts down the side as well. So if we went to image, for example, you've got the options there, generate, try on, and flat lay. Here you've also got the different render images? What's the word? AI generators, that's the word I'm after. So you've got 3 different ones, but I'm just going to do the high dream. So enter your prompt and get started. If you're kind of sitting here and going, I have no idea what to type in at all, that's okay. We're going to break down the different types of prompts in just a second. But you're able to kind of sit and just prompt what you want. So I'm going to go a blue dress with a skater skirt and pretty white bows on the sleeves. Dress is just above, can't spell, able, I don't think that looks like above, knee length. And then all I'm going to do is just press generate. And so what it's doing is it's now just going away and generating these images, and it might take a few minutes. So while this is happening, if I go, oh my God, that was a really awful prompt, and I actually just don't know what to say to her, it's kind of like those first awkward conversations. There are ways of getting better at prompting. And this took a long time for me to learn, but there are 4 key different types of prompts that you'll use. Obviously, there's way more than this, but these are the 4 that you'll end up touching on. So iterative, and that's basically about working step by step. So going, most people do this subconsciously. So you'll go, I want this. Actually, wait, can we like edit this slightly and do this? Wait, now edit this and do this. That's iterative. You're working in that way. Instruction is what we've just done. So prompts that are the most straightforward. You're literally telling the AI what you want. So you're going, I want a blue dress, skater skirt. This is what it looks like. Explorative is what most people use when they're researching. So going, I'm looking for an AI or like a dress that does X, Y, and Z, but I need help. Help me come up with 5 different ideas. And you're using the AI to explore. And this is really common within creative. You're kind of using it as a way of bouncing ideas back and forth. And then you've got chain prompts, and they're used when a task is too large to handle in one go. So you break it down. So you're doing a trend forecast and you go, I need to know what patterns are trending. I need to know what outfits are trending, what styles are trending. So you're breaking it down bit by bit, like a chain. You're kind of going down the chain. Now you can use these in combination with each other. You could do instruction into explorative to, iterative. But once you understand that there are 4 different types, you will naturally begin to think about how you're prompting in those ways to get better results. So let's have a little look and see if our CLO has done. And it has. See, I really love this one. So there's obviously 3 different options. These might not be what I was picturing, but I'm going to go for this one. So you can choose to download it. So I can download it there and save it to my file. So I'm going to save it to CLO demo and save it here. Or I can also use it as an input image. So I can then make more edits to it as it goes. What I can also do is then go to try on, and I can select the garment in here. So I'll upload this garment. And I'm also going to upload an image of myself. This is an AI image I was exploring a little while ago. Tell me how it looks, because I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I feel like I'm just too glossed. So all I'm going to do is click generate. And then what it's going to do is combine the model and the garment together so that I am then wearing it. Now, obviously, with the outfit that I'm wearing, I'm not showing my full body. So sometimes it doesn't put the full dress on the body, like it's not going to morph me into a different one. But sometimes it does. So we'll see what happens. And it's just loading there. I'm going to have a sip of my tea as well. If you can't tell, I'm British. Always got a cup of tea to hand. So as this is loading, so it will continue on and we can go to the flat lay as well. You can see why I love using Canva for like bouncing back and forth. I just find presentations so limiting. So looking at using CLO AI for textures as well. So showing you guys how we can kind of get these words generating. So in your head, as we're going along, start thinking about some of the prompts that you could be using. Like, how would you describe this image? And I always find doing that reverse prompting of like, how would I describe it? What I'm looking at. You can even use like AI as well to help you. So put this image in and go, describe what's in this image, or describe this image as a texture print of how that can look. So just as a layout as well, while we're just waiting for that to load, this is the AI texture generator. So you've basically got the fabric choices up here, and then the different types of content, the style as well, and the different pattern size. And you can also prompt as well, so it gives you the nice text. And let's see if that's loaded. There we go, there is me. So it looks ever so slightly different in terms of my face, but to be honest, I think it looks pretty good. So we'll save it there. And I'm wearing the garment. Obviously, this garment doesn't exist as well, which is really awesome. So there you go, you can kind of see my face a little bit. So smoothed out my face, but I think it looks really good. Oh, let's go to that. So, and then flat lay as well is just where when we put the garment in, it will just create a flat lay of this, which is like a 2D thing. So it will just basically flatten it. I'm not going to show you that because it doesn't really show much for this context of what we're showing today, but it is really cool. So going on to the AI text generator, you can choose basically any fabric. So we'll go corduroy and we'll choose, let's go art, We can choose different ones. So I'm going to go oil painting. And one of the cool things as well is you can do random prompts. So I'm going to go this one, and we're going to change the size to 2. Okay, generate. So now what this is doing is then just generating an image of a texture. Just like we saw on the other one, it will come up with that. And you can then save this and use this as well within your pieces, either as graphics, or you can upload it as the individual fabric pieces by replacing them. So you're able to use it in different ways that help you. There you go, it's just loading on. Awesome. I really like that. So going on to graphic. Oh, hang on a minute. There we go. Same again. So it's just the same thing with, you can choose embroidery, pop art, comic art, and then choosing whether it's transparent or not, and then going into effectively a prompt. So the same again, random. You can also do it from an image as well. So selecting if you want the image instead of like a text, you can choose it like this, and you can upload like a graphic. So if you had your own logo, you could do that as well. This is basically the same, so we can click generate just to show you guys. But yeah, it generates, and we'll come back and visit it again once it's done. So the design model, when you're thinking about AI and kind of seeing some of the stuff, you might go, this is really cool, but I don't know how I'm gonna work in this way, or what I see people post online is way too crazy. You know, I can't ever do work like that. And that's not true. As designers, we're way too hard on ourselves. The most successful designers, they're not smarter than you. They just know their toolkit and their pipelines inside and out. And they, keyword hit, design to their strengths. So by design, this is the model that I've kind of come up with. So they define the intent. So what are they wanting? They're not just creating for the sake of creating. They're sitting down kind of going, we're looking at doing X, Y, and Z. This is what we're doing. They edit with expertise. They don't just go, oh, I'm just gonna put this here and put this bit here, move this point. They're actually taking the time to go, this is how it would fit, or this looks good, and I'm purposefully placing this point here. They scale through their customization. They don't just limit themselves to what they've got available. They'll create custom bits and bobs, whether that's through Blender, through virtual reality, through different software. They will customize to make their pieces stand out. Also, isolation. They understand that working not just as an individual, but in individual softwares isn't always better than collaboration. They might be using multiple softwares, or they might be working with multiple people. So, you know, they bounce ideas back off each other, and they're using different tools for the different strengths. So again, using like CLO AI and then using that in CLO. Although they're kind of the same tool, they understand that actually it's better to have both in. And they're also grounded in production logic. So they're not just kind of designing and going, yeah, that looks good, but it's never going to work. They understand that actually it does have to have some elements, even if it's just digital, that it's got to be able to be made in real life. And they also know when to stop. This is the biggest thing that I think is a challenge for designers, is because fashion, we can always keep pushing it and developing ideas and going further and further. And I remember my lecturers being like, this conversation that they had with me back in my BA, and they were like, fashion never stops. You know, you can always keep on developing. And I'm just like, this is so true. You can just keep on editing and making it better and better, but it's knowing when to stop. That's the key thing that most people forget about. So let's just see if our thing's done very quickly, just to show you. And then we're going to go on to VR and CLO. There we go. So there's our little graphics generator, so we can save that as well. And this is just our little koi fish. I think it's very cute, so we can put that on like a badge somewhere. I'm hoping you guys can see how you could apply this in your own way, and it's worth experimenting as well. So looking at CLO, you've got to think of all the different ways of working have different strengths. And that's really kind of coming about toolkit optimization. So CLO is really good for precision with the pattern construction, garment simulation, and production ready outputs, which is really key. Virtual reality is really good at sketching and testing and modeling and volume exploration. And AI is really good at rapid concept generation and the image-led ideation, coming up with different ideas and working from that and developing it. And when you combine AI and virtual reality, you get different concepts that you can rebuild in 3D space. You get faster silhouette filtering and texture testing. And obviously AI and CLO, you get the AI studio, which is really good for fashion. And VR and CLO, you get the spatial tests refined, VR models imported into CLO, you can do accessories. But when you combine all of these three all together, not only do you get fewer physical samples, you get accelerated concept to production timelines, fast iteration cycles, and even global collaboration. As like I mentioned earlier, you can work with anyone, anywhere, at any time, and only you need to be in a VR headset. You can be sharing your screen, just like I will do in a minute when I do a VR demo, so you can see what I'm seeing in real time and making those live design decisions, and you can be anywhere in the world. So we can be working together and working really efficiently. And so a lot of people say, why virtual reality? And now, without kind of reading off the side, you've got to think of it as when you think of an object. So for example, I've got a car key here. But when I show you this, in your head, you can imagine what this looks like from all different angles. And so, you paint this picture in your head. You're like, I can see it, I can picture it, I know the size, the dimensions, the textures that are happening on this. And then you have to go and sketch it. And with traditional fashion, you end up sketching it in 2D, and you're only capturing little bits of the information on little, 2D planes. So you're limiting yourself already. And then you find that you're limited because you have to take it into either like Blender or fashion software, but you're still limited by 2D. You're having to then go and, recreate it in 3D, but you're doing that in 2D first. So you're finding that there's a lot of flattening of your image, and each time you flatten, you're losing little bits of detail. So with the STUDIOOFNEW workflow or the VR workflow, what it allows you to do is not only think in 3D, but then sketch your ideas in 3D. And by having that flow, it's more intuitive, it's more iterative. You can see when there's problems before there's the problems. And you can also play a lot faster as well. You're not relying on the precision of the 2D to get the 3D results. So you can see here that you can take it into Blender and fashion, make it in real life, do renders, 3D print it. You can go anywhere and everywhere with it. You're not as limited as a traditional fashion workflow. And it's one of the reasons why CLO introduced the 3D pens. You are able to draw in space, because they understand that actually designers want to design more intuitively. And working in 3D space makes more sense as a designer. It's how you drape. Draping fabric, you're doing it in 3D, but you're just doing it instead without the wastage by doing it in virtual reality. So to kind of make this more clear, if you're kind of like, this is your first time hearing me talk about virtual reality, we're going to be looking at the little case study that I did. This is the first project that actually was successful when I was learning my VR workflows. So how to work in CLO and VR whilst maintaining creative direction. So Jonathan Kuji is an absolutely amazing jewelry designer. And so we collaborated. He's based in, I believe it's New York. This was maybe like 2 years ago now. So we collaborated together using only virtual reality. We've never met in real life to create fashion pieces inspired by the Amazon rainforest. So these are the results of the collaboration. Now, I'd like to say they were successful, personally. But obviously, you can choose to differ and go, oh my God, what was she thinking? But yeah, you can see that there's obviously frogs and jewelry pieces, and we really work together to collaborate. So really intuitive. So this is us in virtual reality, our lovely little selfie that we've got here, the first time that we met. So we did this all in virtual reality. We literally put on our headsets, met in there for the first time, took images from Google, put it in, and started concept creating. We started sketching around one of the CLO avatars, and then teaching each other different workflows. So I started teaching him fashion design of how stuff curves, around the arms or the chests, and stuff like that. We started teaching each other that. And then he started teaching me how to design jewelry in virtual reality. Now, we met at a Gravity Sketch convention. It's Gravity Sketch Around the World Festival. And I think this was like 2024. So again, a few years ago. But because of that collaboration, that interest in virtual reality, we wanted to push it further. So here you can see us designing some of the screenshots. You can see him just down here sketching, trying to come up with some funky sunglasses. So we really pushed the design idea. And that's how we ended up with this. We explored how can we get stuff out. And most of this was done through trims. So exporting stuff out, going and editing them in Blender to join the materials, and then bringing them into CLO. So we're able to get those trims to scale them up and stick them to the fabric and post them, and then get all the gorgeous renders that we've got as well. And so the point that I'm trying to get is that AI, VR and CLO, they're not competing tools. they operate at different levels of precision. So you haven't got to use it in this way, but this is the way that I like to use CLO and AI and VR. So using CLO as an image creation, so focusing on that specifically for fashion. If I need to do more crazy concepts, I might dip into another AI. But, looking at AI as the foundation, going into VR modeling to accentuate it, and then going into CLO for refinement. So again, having all that precision, going in the ideas, ideation, and then going into precision. So following that pyramid up and down. And when used in this order, the workflow moves from exploration to execution without the creative loss. And that's really key. It's a workflow that works for me. And that's key. You have a different workflow that works for you. So what I'm going to do is basically go into virtual reality and show you guys, which is really exciting. And I'm hoping it works because it's always a 50-50 with, these videos. But I'm going to show you guys how to model in virtual reality. And more importantly, looking at how we can create trims and buttons using VR and then getting them in. Alrighty, so I'm hoping that you guys can see my screen. It's always a bit difficult because obviously I can't see what you're seeing, but you can hopefully see what I'm seeing. But if not, any issues, just put it in the chat. So welcome, this is virtual reality and there's not a lot going on, I'm going to be honest. But I use Gravity Sketch for all my modelling. I find it's really good for precision, collaboration, and it's just downright a really good tool to use. So if I open it up for you guys, and I'm going to select new file, and this is basically what the world looks like. So there's new save, there's nothing in this room, it's completely empty. And this isn't going to be like a tutorial of kind of going, this is how you do this. It's just kind of showcasing you some of the stuff that you can do in VR. So if you're interested in learning it, I definitely go and see if you can find some videos online. I know Gravity Sketch has got an amazing community, which I absolutely adore. But yeah, so we'll just kick off by showcasing what you can do, really. So to begin with, I'm left-handed, so you have two controllers. The one with the circle on top is your left hand. If you tap the bottoms together, it will move to its right hand. So if it suddenly changes for some reason, that's why. But effectively, all you do is you press your trigger button on your dominant hand, and you can begin sketching. That's it. No, I'm joking. So what you're able to do is start sketching in space and creating 3D objects. So what's really cool as well is that you can change the scale of what you're drawing, the color in which you're drawing as well, so you can get loads of different hues. You've also got the values, the RGB value there. You can also save swatches too. So let's begin in a gold. And I'm going to begin sketching like this. I'm going to put another one here. But oh no, I've decided that actually this one's too big. No worries, I can scale it down. Oh, actually no, I want another one. And I'll just put that one there. This one I'm going to change the color of, so I don't want the other ones to change color. And I can simply select it and change it. And I want this one to be a white. And there we go. So you can see very quickly you can begin playing around with different shapes and different sizes. If I select all those and get rid of it, and then we'll go into our little, pencil and paintbrush, you've then got loads of options for the different strokes that you can use. So you've got text, you've got shapes, you've got like surfaces, and you've got your pen tool. Most of the time I'm somewhere in between the pen tool and the surface tool, but it really depends on what you're using this for. So to kick things off, I thought we'd start off with trims, just because they're like the most fun, in my opinion, because you've got so much freedom. And I've got loads of files and, folders open. But if you go to Landing Pad and create an account, you're able to upload what you want from the internet and then get it access in your VR headset, if that makes sense. So all of these diamonds are something that I found online when I was doing my collaboration with Jonathan Kuji, who's a jewelry designer. So at the moment, they're all locked together, so I can scale them up and scale them down, but I can't break them apart. To make it easier, I'm actually going to change their color for you guys. But what I'm able to do is on my right hand, you can see the break icon. So I'm going to press it, and that makes all of them then individual pieces. So we'll just start off with a square, I think, and we'll get rid of some of the other ones, like so. And we'll put that one in the middle. Alrighty, so when I'm designing jewelry, this is like how I go about it. So I will set this as a layer.
with this tab here by pressing the blue button and going into layers, locking it, starting a new layer. And you don't have to do this. You can do it all in one. I just prefer this way. Go to custom ink, go to custom stroke. And if you tap on it again as well, you've also got the option to change it even more. But effectively, all I'm going to do is just click and click with my trigger and stop each time there's a little joint. Now, I'm being honest with you guys. Obviously, I am rushing this because this is just a demo. I spend a lot more time on this than just simply clicking and clicking. But yeah, this is, as I say, just a little demo to show you what I can do. Now, if I decided that this is in the wrong space, I can either manually move it like that, or when clicking on it, I can click the blue icon, which looks like a constellation, and I can move the pieces individually as well, like that. So what I'll also do is I'm going to put that down there and that to there. There and there, because you always have a joining piece on the bottom. There. And there. Wait, hang on. There we go. There. There. Oh. We can also duplicate points there as well. So like, for example, that one glitched in slightly and just wouldn't let me place. So we can put that one there. We can also go and change the faces, the directions that they face, so it's all straight again. And now obviously you would then duplicate these. So I can go like that goes to there. This one comes along like so. And again, and I probably would have made these a bit thinner, I think, because they're a little chunky for jewelry for my liking. But there we go. Effectively, that's my jewelry that we've created. So very quick and simple to show you guys. And obviously it looks a bit messy. As I said, it's a tutorial. We'd be tidying it up if this was real. But now that I've got this, if I was to select it but not select all the points, you can see that I'm only moving some of it. So to stop that from happening, I'm going to make sure that all my layers are unlocked and that when I'm selecting it all, I'm clicking the purple hexagons so they all join together. So when I click and move this, it all moves as one. So from this, I can start developing different pieces. So I can have earrings that go like that. I could have a bracelet where you have it like connected like that. And you see what you can do. You can very quickly start to build up different design ideas. And just because this is all connected doesn't mean that we can't then go and make changes. So we can change the gems into a different gemstone, etc., etc. So with this, what I'm going to do is join these together. So it really breaks the realism if you don't have them joined together. If you have them just floating, it's a cool concept piece, but it doesn't look realistic. And when you're working with clo, which makes clothing look so good and so realistic, particularly with like the AI enhancements that you can do, not joining them together, I think, breaks that slightly. So to make things look like they're joined together, all you've got to do is, I'm actually going to switch pen to custom ink. All you've got to do is basically just draw a circle and then draw it down and then draw another circle. Again, obviously, this would be much more precise if you were doing this properly. But all I'm going to do is drag it to the size that I want, come a bit closer, and then connect them up. So let's one there, one there, like so. Make them a bit bigger. And there we go. That's kind of the vibe we're going for. So you can start connecting them up and connect the whole pieces. Obviously, you'd put like a little earring loop here as well, and the one in this bit here. But I'm going to do that just because this is a demo. Once you've got it, all you then do is go into your file, so import, and then drag it, drop it in, and then save it. So you can see there's a couple in here that I've done earlier. So this was one that I'd done as a test just to make sure that it works. But I can drag and drop it in. There we go. And you can see that there. So this is like diamond and sapphire with the same gems. I've also done it as well. So this is for the interline, and I've done butterflies. So this was actually for putting on a dress. So I ended up using these as buttons, and we'll cover that in just 1 second. And you can also do it with other diamonds as well. So if I've saved a diamond shape that I really like and I go, this is really precise, like yay me, good me, I've done well, then I can save it and I can then reuse it. So I could make like a pattern like that. Obviously, again, that's very ugly, so we wouldn't do that. But you see my point. Right, moving on to buttons. Buttons, I think, are one of my favorite to work with when creating custom stuff because you're not limited when you're working in virtual reality. A lot of the buttons that you'll find online are really plain. They'll be the same button shape. You know, the one where it's like the circle and it's got the 2 holes or the 4 holes. So with buttons, all you need to do is make sure that whatever you've got in virtual reality is sitting along a plane. So it's sitting along all the axis like that and it's not intersecting. And that's literally it. That's all you do. So you can do this with a circle. So we can change our shape to do a torus like so. And you can have a circle like that. And we can copy and paste it. Put a smaller one in like so. We can even change this. So we could change it to an image texture, which is what I really love to do with buttons. So if I go through some of my images, I've got loads in here, by the way. And we'll go for this one because it's got a bit of colour on it. Now that I've brought my image in, if I click the color wheel, I can put my image on. And I can do the same again and put the image on. I might edit this texture actually to make it a bit different. There we go. So rather than having like the butterfly shape and it being really different, dragging, making sure that this is in the center. Don't worry too much about the size. It's just more about its general positioning. And even then you can still edit it in. I always recommend taking them into Blender just to join up the materials and the faces so that it all works as one. But yeah, once you've got your button, you can put your pieces through. You can leave them like so. And in the same way that we did with the trim, all you've got to do is open up your files, drag, drop them in and save it as a button. The last thing that I wanted to cover as well was showcasing you how this can then be translated into garments. So I've got shoes and bags in here, and they're basically the same as trims. So we could choose a handbag, for example, import that in at the scale, like so, just break it apart slightly. Very quickly, you can begin to prototype. So let's bring in that image again. Like so, move it out the way. And bring it in like that. Let's edit the colors. So you might have it really big. Like that. And you might change this to a solid purple. So very quickly you can begin to explore branding ideas and how does this look. And obviously where you've got the text feature and you've got images that you can bring in, you can begin to work on logos and logo placement. This is one of the things that I love to show for brands, to show what you're able to create. So I've done whole collections of handbags completely digitally using virtual reality. And the best part is just like how you're viewing this, clients can view this stuff live as well. So I can be working with someone across the globe and they can be seeing what I'm seeing in my VR headset live. Now, very quickly, lastly, as I said, I just wanted to show you guys clothing because I think it's one of the coolest things that you can do with virtual reality. So you can import your CLO avatars. Just make sure that there's under 10,000 faces on the avatars, and you can import them in. So you can begin sketching around them to design clothing. So you can start kind of going, I want this to be like this, and this to be here, like so, and begin sketching a dress. Now, obviously, I'd suggest spending some time on this, but you're also able to work from some of the CLO templates as well. So if I get rid of all of those little bits, you can bring in, if I go into garment, different CLO pieces, like CLO t-shirts, like this. So this is one that I've exported directly from CLO 3D and then brought straight in. So what I can do is take this panel, for example, and go and begin changing the colors. So we can make this a red shirt. We can have this panel as green. We can change this as well. So we can make this gold, for example, and you can begin building clothing ideas. What you can also do, which I think is really cool, is you can begin to edit the panel pieces as well. So I can drag these and drag them out to have it bigger, and I can begin to take it down if I wanted. So this panel is longer, so I can do it individually like so. Or I can do it different, so I can make it like stick out more, so I can make it like really wide. Anything that I do, obviously this is kind of crazy, anything that I do like this, I can then save out and import directly into CLO because they have a feature which relies on UV maps where you're then able to import it as a garment. So you can import this shirt and then bring it straight in. And it should look something like this. So you can then begin working on it from a template. Anyways, this has been my showcase of VR, and I'll also show you guys how to get them into CLO 3D as well. So let's go back to the computer screen and we will take it from there. I hope this has been helpful. See you on the other side.
All right, I'm back. I'm hoping you guys can see me. I'm going to hope that you can. So if I go onto landing pad, as I said before, this is what you need for Gravity Sketch. In here is basically all my files and images. So I can upload stuff from online into here by going create or upload. And I can also do the reverse as well, so downloading it. So I'm going to go to collab, and then I'm going to go into showing you guys that butterfly again. So we've got the OBJ here, which I've exported it as. But just to show you guys how to export, you go up to this top window here, click export, and then go, you've got loads of different options, but go to rendering. You can save it as an OBJ or FBX, obviously OBJ if you're doing a button. FBX, you've got your units, and then click export. For looking at how to export stuff, it's worth just looking online and getting familiar with different processes. But for the most part, rendering is like the one that you want. So I'm just going to save this OBJ of the butterfly. Amazing. And we'll open it up in my files. Downloads. We'll export this out into CLO Demo, just so we've got it nice and handy. And if you go into CLO Demo here, there we go. I can see we've got the OBJ file and the MTL. So if you go back into CLO, let's close our lovely fabric. God, I think it's already applied it as well, which is really awesome. So what I can do is just go to trim, so which is this one here, the bow, and I can click add. And nice and simply, it just comes up CLO Demo Butterfly. So I've got loads of different options here around size as well. So depending on what scale you've worked on, it's important to have a look at this. And I'm going to put it as centimeters, but we'll click just in case. And it's just importing it into the window, and I'm going to drag and drop it. The reason why I love trim so much is because you can really work with the scale. So when it imports, it might be absolutely tiny, or it might be massive, like it's like this. If I tap on it, it's a little bit bigger than I was expecting. So right there. If I tap on this item here, I can scale it down and make it bigger as well, make it tinier. I can also rotate it. Now I'm working on a laptop. I probably should have brought my mouse, but we're just going to work with it. But here you go. So you can see my piece. As I click on each one, it is individual. So this is why you want to go into Blender and join up all your meshes so that they're all like together. So that way then if I was to change the color of this, for example, to like pink, and I click apply. Oh wait, this one's already got it. That's fine. So yeah, basically you want to make sure that they're all joined together, because if it's not the same color and it's not the same material like in Blender, if that makes sense, then this doesn't always happen. Sometimes it only changes the individual, which is the most annoying thing that I've ever had, because like you'll get this lovely piece and you're like, oh my god, I've got it all this fine, it looks really cool, and then you go and change the color and it only changes one little thing and you're like, oh my god, I've now got to go through and change all of it again. Anyways, little run over. You can then go and change it to, for example, like metal like this. So you can change the properties of it to get different feels. Obviously, then you can then go and click render and get it out. Moving on to buttons, they're a tiny bit different. So we can click on a default button like this one. It's just going to take a minute to load. And the way in which you add a new one is by clicking the add button here. So what you want to do is select your OBJ. Now my butterfly isn't touching the bottom because obviously I haven't saved our button one, but you would upload it here, select button, you've got the width and the options, and you'll get a little preview as well. And then once that's done, if you can't then see it, you click on the little down arrow here. And here you can see some of the other custom ones that I tried earlier. So we can put a button onto a dress, for example, or we can put it elsewhere. So let me delete this. And what we'll do is just open this. And let's just go avatar. Oh wait, hang on. All my record things in the way. Maybe I won't show you guys. That's fine. So normally what you then do is put it on a piece of fabric and just simulate, if that makes sense. You can see where the button goes. But yeah, so the button is on there. We can see if we can do it this way as well. Just pop that in and we should get our funky print. Amazing. We'll move this up so you can see it and we'll freeze it. And then we can just go onto our button, making sure that's selected, go over here. And then let's zoom in. And you might not be able to see that, so we can change the size of it a bit more. So the width over here, let's change it to 90, which is the maximum. There we go, you can see a bit better there. So again, with this, we can change the color, we can change the texture as well. So you'll click on it and nothing will happen. You need to click on it in here and you can choose the color. So we can choose like a yellow, apply. We can also change it again to metal to get different customization options, like so. So that's how you can apply it. And then moving on to back to our presentation. Where are we? Over here. Using CLO for AI renders. Now let's say you've got the garment that you wanted. So you've got the piece and you're wanting to render it out, you're wanting to change it. You can also do that in CLO. So we can upload the target image. So this can be one from CLO, this can be one that you've created. And then also going into adding a model as well. So I can do this again with the text or image. I'm just going to show you like this because obviously we haven't created a garment today, but you can just see it here. So going into creating the model, adding the target image, and then generating it. I can feel it like my laptop's like sounding like it's taking off. It's like, no. I don't know if you guys who work on laptops also get this as well. Anyways, moving on to the whole, if you haven't got a VR headset and CLO, kind of wrapping up a little bit about what you can do today to keep yourself kind of creating and trying new things, even if you haven't got a VR headset. And you don't need hardware to begin building spatial workflows, and I will just shout it out loud all the time. But, you know, not everyone listens. So one, do some online digging, you know, use Blender to model and download custom ABJ files. I'm actually going to have to close CLO because I can feel the heat coming off of it. Let me close that down. That's better. So yeah, do some research, you know, look at Blender, see if you can get some modeling stuff, so some custom ABJ files, begin creating the unique items in, you know, for designing for CLO. You can also do it in CLO as well. Use CLO 3D's avatar pen and internal tools as well. So, you know, you can trace on the avatar, you can trace in the space. Why would you not do that? You know, look at, you know, how you can begin building and working in ways that are more intuitive for you. And also number 3 as well, leverage the CLO 3D asset library. So many people don't use it or don't know it exists. And I'm like, there are so many amazing, talented people who are uploading some incredible works that I'm even like, how on earth are you doing this? But, you know, start off with base garments, look at trims and buttons from the CLO asset library, modify them, combine them and customize them, you know, really begin exploring and see what you can get. You know, with trims, as I said, explore how big they are, how small they are. A lot of the work that I've done, I've ended up importing a trim and having it as the background, you know, massively huge. And people are like, this is a really cool background. How would you do it? And I'm like, it's all done in CLO. It's just using trims and the knowledge to be able to do that, if that makes sense. But most importantly, design your way. And people like will go and they'll try and copy someone, but I'm like, no, do it your way. Look at different ways that you can work. So this is 6 different ways that you could try literally today or tomorrow if it's like nighttime for you guys. But this is what you can do. So looking at using AI for prints. What about review and collaboration? Could you try, you know, using a VR environment, like a virtual reality environment to present? What about customization at scale? So using AI in VR or AI in CLO. Looking at different fit exploration. Could you use the 3D CLO pen tool to, you know, sketch around? If you have a VR headset, what about sketching around a garment or something like that? What does that look like? And just begin playing, you know. Most people I advise start on some accessories. That's the way that most of us have learned, is just by trial and error. So begin prototyping and exploring. And like, no kidding, this is literally what got me to the new designer best technical designer award. You know, it's literally just playing around and seeing what I could do. So the dress that I won, let me see if I can find it. I know it's on here somewhere. The dress that made me win, there you go. here. This one, it's got over 6,000 individually placed diamonds on, you know, and they're all done by hand. So when you place them, they're literally done one. It took me over 18 hours to do it, but the prints on that are AI. The idea is a combination of AI and then developing through, you know, human adaptation. It's done by sketching in virtual reality and bringing it into clay to get the model across. You know, it's then rendered in DAZ Studio because I had an issue with posing, so I had to move the model like bit by bit. So there's so much processes that have gone into this, but it's all through experimenting and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. So have fun, honestly, play with it. So yeah, that's kind of it really, guys. I'm hoping that you guys have seen a bit of clips of how to work with CLO AI, and particularly just kind of looking at how to develop these concepts and textures using CLO, how to prototype different accessories in VR, and also how you can kind of start to begin exploring these in your own way as well. And also looking at how to integrate custom elements into CLO. So how can you get trims on? How can you get buttons in? And how these tools can work together, most importantly. You know, if you take anything from away, you know, from today's session away, how can these things work together? And then, yeah, how you can apply this in a way that works for you. So obviously I've been, you know, Holly, founder of STUDIOOFNEW. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to enquiries at studioofnew.co.uk. One of my team members or I will pick it up. And we can go from there if you've got any questions that you're like, I have no idea what to do. And also our website as well if you want to learn a bit more about working in virtual reality. And also I just have to mention that the reason I've chosen this like ugly photo, I hate this photo, it haunts me, is because next to me is the world's first VR created t-shirt and shirt. So these were created completely in virtual reality and then taken into CLO 3D using AI prints on them and then basically printed out and then created. So we did one round of sampling to make sure that they fitted, but we didn't even have to do that because they fitted perfectly first time. And that's the power of using tools in conjunction with one another. And this wouldn't have been possible without AI, wouldn't have been possible without VR, and wouldn't have been possible without CLO. So I'm hoping that, guys, inspires you a little bit and that you guys go, oh, I can kind of see more immersive workflows and how to use CLO AI in a way that's going to work for me. And that's been my webinar, guys. So thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you kind of are in the world. Have a great day, night, who knows. All right, ciao for now, guys. Thank you for joining. Bye.